Welcome to ComTalk 1121, the station that keeps you informed. This is our two-part discussion of whether or not the media has a great influence on its audience. Last week's panel proposed this view. Today I have with me Dr. Simpson, a psychologist, Dr. Smith, an anthropologist, Dr. McLean, a sociologist, and a guidance counselor from St. George's College, Dr. Michael John. They will be opposing this view today. Now, Dr. Smith, we'd like to have your input in this discussion, please.
Good night. As an expert in anthropology, you know, Stefan, this question has rattled my mind time and time before. Does media have a great impact on its audience? Well, based on Paul Lazarsfeld limited effect theory, media rarely directly influence individuals. Research findings consistently indicate that most people are sheltered from direct media manipulation by family, friends, and social groups. People tend to ignore political media and their attitudes and are not easily changed by what they read or hear. Like, for example, in Jamaica, as soon as a regular or a normal individual watches the news and a political view or information might come across, they tend to ignore it or switch to television. And if they encounter any new ideas or information, they turn to others for advice and critical interpretation. The generalization and the findings of which it is based contradicts mass society and propaganda theories, notion that view people as an isolated and highly vulnerable to direct manipulation.
So, for example, I heard you mention propaganda, like the court ads that we see on television or hear on the radio, where they say, pay nothing down for free for 36 months. But in the end, you normally end up paying more because of the higher purchase scheme. Is that what you're saying, Dr. Smith?
Exactly. And people tend to go to friends and ask what is happening so that they can find certain information before making decisions. So even though I had to say something, they still tend to seek to friends and family for information.
Okay, I understand.
Yes. The second point is there is a two-flow step of media influence. This generalization asserts that media will be influential only if opinion leaders who guide others are influenced first. Because opinion leaders are sophisticated, critical media users. They are not easily influenced or manipulated by media content. They act as an effective gatekeeper and form of barrier to media influence. The third point and last point, by the time people transcend to adulthood, they have developed strongly held group commitments such as a political party or religious affiliation. These affiliations provide an effective barrier against media influence. Media uses tend to be consistent with these commitments. For example, those voters with PNP affiliation may then subscribe to PNP articles or magazine and vice versa in relationship to that as well.
Okay, I understand, Ms. McLean. Thank you very much for your valid input. Hope to have you on the program again.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
So, Dr. Simpson, over the weekend I was reading about the social cognitive theory, knowing that you would be here, but could barely understand. Could you please explain to me and the listeners what this is?
Pleasure in advising you. Now, the social cognitive theory provides a conceptual framework that examines the determinants and mechanisms of media effects. In essence, behavioral influence is shaped and controlled either by environmental influences or by internal dispositions. Personal agency operates within a broad network of socio-structural influences. In these agentic transactions, people are producers of social systems, not just products of them. Now, the agenda setting theory may propose this view. They contend that the strategies put out to implement or suggest certain ideas and products to get a particular audience to react in a certain way. Now, my view, according to my study of the social cognitive theory, is that this is not so. It doesn't mean that these systems are in control. It is the participant, it is the individual that is in control. They are the active participants in the persuasion process. This therefore means that if their interests are not correlated with the media, if it is not something that they would read about or listen to, then they cannot be influenced by it.
So then, Dr. Simpson, what you're saying that it's basically a selection process by which someone is influenced. If a person should choose to listen to Vibes Cartel and Movado, they would be influenced by Vibes Cartel and Movado.
Yes, because it will be their choice to listen to him.
And earlier in the program, I heard you mention the environmental situation. Does that mean like a social class to which one belongs to?
Yes, it does.
Could you elaborate on this, please, Dr. Simpson?
It means that, say, someone who lives where Bounty Killer comes from, they are affiliated with him and they will listen to his music, therefore be influenced by it. Same for Vibes Cartel. For those people living in Portmore, Gaza Strip, they listen to him, they're influenced by him. Everything he does, they react according to it. It therefore means that, according to my study as well, it therefore means that a less educated person is more likely to be influenced by the media. Hence, the media has a limited effect on its audience because of their choice. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Simpson, for your valid input.
Okay.
I agree with Dr. Simpson in that I take the stance that the media has a limited impact on the audience because of two main factors: the individualistic perspective and the relationship that a person has with a group. Therefore, the audience is impacted only by what they deem as important or not.
So, Dr. Michael John, what you're saying is from the group setting, if I am necessarily from the Gaza community, I would be more likely to listen to Vibes Cartel as I am from the Gaza group.
As opposed to
someone from the gully who would then listen to Movado because they're from the gully squad.
Exactly.
I understand.
And the user's gratification theory, the audience is responsible for the way they use the media, and so they cannot be impacted by the information if they do not see it as important or relevant to their social life or social setting.
Okay, I understand. So the user's gratification theory would basically say then, if I were to watch violent movies, I would behave in a violent way, rather than someone who watches comedies, for example, would be of a jovial nature.
Exactly.
It's how you use the media and what you're influenced by.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dr. Michael John, for being here. It was a pleasure having you on this program.
You're welcome.
We now have with us esteemed psychologist, Dr. Karine McLean, and we will now have her input on why the media has a limited effect on the audience through her uses and gratification theory.
Thank you. Uses and gratifications is a psychological communication perspective, and it examines what purposes or functions the media serves for a body of active receivers. It argues that people use the media to gratify their needs, and it is also used to understand motives for media behavior and also to identify functions or consequences that follow from motives and behavior. Now, people choose what aspects of media to partake in. Media and its content is chosen. So this theory is used to shift the focus from what the media does to people rather to what people do with the media. From a sociological perspective, the functionalist theory, it is a micro perspective which is from the standpoint of how individuals affect the broader society. And similarly, this theory views how individuals affect the media. Now, if you want to look at it this way, the concern of many, not only those who study the media, but those who partake in it and those who it directly affects, is that there are different types of media and persons are given the options to choose from based on their preference.
So basically then, Dr. McLean, this overlaps with Dr. Simpson's previous statement about the social cognitive theory, that it is a selective process by which people are influenced.
Exactly. And one can choose from the different types of media, can either watch the television, listen to a radio program, or pick up a newspaper or magazine to read. And similarly, people can have the option of which program or station to watch or to listen to, or which newspaper to read, even down to the article that they choose to read based on what appeals to them.
So basically then, Dr. McLean, you're saying that if I myself, I'm a Christian who listens to TBN or watches the Christian stations on Flow, which I do have, by the way, I will not necessarily be influenced by the content of RETV.
Precisely. That is it. If the viewers choose not to watch a program or a station, then naturally it cannot affect them. And most persons can agree that media is argued by many to be one of the most influential agents of socialization. However, what they view is a matter of choice and preference. So it depends on what they choose to view. That is what affects them.
Thank you very much, Dr. McLean. Hope to have you on your show again sometime.
Anytime.